This month on Henry Insider, we're sitting down with Henry County Commissioner Bruce Holmes and Ron Burkhalter, Henry County SPLOST Capital Projects Director, who will fill us in on a big project coming in District 5. But first, a conversation with Henry County SPLOST Transportation Director, Rocky Romero, who will update us on the past, present, and future of roads in the district. Stay with us. Hello and welcome to Henry Insider, the show that gives you an insider's view of Henry County government. I'm your host, Melissa Robinson, and together we'll examine what's going on inside Henry County. Today we're joined by Bruce Holmes, Henry County Commissioner for District 5, and Rocky Romero, SPLOST Transportation Director. Welcome to you both. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. You look good in that seat.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Commissioner, let me start with you. I know that overall road improvements began in District 5 several years ago. And so can you tell me where we've been and how it's come to be an important part of the district's revitalization?
When I was initially elected, we were experiencing a lot of sprawl. A lot of businesses were leaving the area. But we also were experiencing a lot of congestion off of West Panola Road and Fairview Road. One of the first meetings I had was with Rocky, and it was about the Fairview SPLOST 3 project. And initially, I was told that we didn't have the money to start the Fairview Road project. So I sat down with Rocky so we can totally look at the project. Initially, it was just a freeway going through the Fairview area. I wanted to change that and make it more pedestrian friendly. And I think we had $13 million, Rocky, at the time. And so we had to create a way to be able to, move the Fairview Road project forward with the $13 million, but with a $13 million budget. So basically, we sat down, we met, we discussed adding 8-foot multi-use trails, we discussed adding new lamp posts, street signage, beautification along Fairview Road, and we shortened the distance. I think initially we were looking at going past Thurman Road, so we shortened the distance to help it to fit into the budget just past Home Depot, and everything worked out well, and the project looks absolutely beautiful right now.
Great, and it really does. I've seen it. And so, Rocky, let's break this down a little bit and start with the first big project, which was the relocation of West Panola Road. Is that right?
That's correct, and that's one of the projects that the Commissioner wanted to see first. To start something in the district, but this project, the West Panola relocation, actually was not part of SPLOST, but talking to DOT, there were some funds through Capital DOT, and we were able to go ahead and expedite this project. SPLOST managed the project, we did the design, did the right-of-way relocation, the right-of-way, and also the construction. We started around fall of 2012 and early 2013 it was completed. One of the things that we did, we also looked towards the future. We knew West Panola in the future needed to be a 4-lane, so we designed it for a 4-lane. So what we did, build the road as a 2-lane with a median. Okay. So in the future, which is going to be here very shortly, it's going to be 4-lane.
Great. And so the particulars of relocating that, how does it cut through? How did you relocate it? I mean, as far as from where to where?
Well, we did originally right now, and it's still effective. West Panola is very close. It's signal real close to Fairview of East Atlanta Road. So what we've done right now, about half a mile before you get to the East Atlanta, we relocated West Panola. Once we complete the construction of Fairview, most likely the signal at East Atlanta at West Panola will be removed. It makes a better transition. We're actually moving the traffic, having 2 signals too close. They're about 200 feet on East Atlanta. That's a problem. As much traffic we have in that area, you can see the congestion every day because of those 2 signals being so close. Usually you want to have about 1,000 feet between signals, especially if they're very busy corridors. So moving this away from it, it makes actually work Fairview better and also East Atlanta better.
Okay, great. And I know, Commissioner, you can speak to that as far as what a great benefit that's been to that area as far as alleviating congestion from traffic.
Well, basically what we wanted to do, since we're experiencing sprawl, we wanted to create a destination area. That's the reason why we went out and we recruited companies like Nidus, and looks like the first restaurant is going to be built, or we're going to break ground on the first restaurant within the next couple of months, called Cajun Village, which is a seafood restaurant. It's going to be around the corner of West Panola and Fairview Road. We work with Clayton County to widen West Panola Road on their end to I-675, and in the future, in the very near future, we're going to widen West Panola Road to the Clayton County line. That's going to put Fairview closer to I-675. In the future, we're looking at doing some things at Fairview Road and Anvil Block to also put us closer to I-75 so we can attract appealing businesses to the area.
And since you've mentioned some of these that are coming in, that really is the goal, to attract these high-end businesses to the area, to reinvent the area a little bit.
We want to attract high-end business. We want to create a destination area. I know I'm not supposed to talk about it into the next segment, but the new park is also something that is going to attract people to the area to spend money at businesses, so we won't experience the sprawl that we experienced a number of years ago.
Right, absolutely. Well, so Rocky, let me switch to another project. It's the 138 landscaping project, and I know that has been completed, or is it?
It has been completed, but we have, being that we have such a cold winter,
yes,
we did experience some trees that didn't make it. We're going to be replanting them in the fall. If we plant them right now, it's so hot, they're going to survive. So we're going to be doing the same thing again in the fall. So we talked to the company who did the work, and they're going to come back in the fall to replant those. We've been using county forces to do the maintenance. I know we had some issues with the weed control. So I think this was our first project, right, that the SPLOS and the county has done for landscaping. So I think we learned how to move forward for future projects. And one of the projects that we're going to be doing a lot of landscaping, like Commissioner mentioned, is the Fairview widening. So that's going to be coming probably around the spring of next year. You'll see a lot of plants going on up in that area.
Okay, and it just gives, for people who don't know, a little recap of what that looked like before the landscaping, and what that landscaping, you know, how it looks now, what it's done.
Well, before there was absolutely nothing. It was just grass, and now we have actually planted some trees and some shrubbery and mulch, which kind of gives some color and some breaking on the viewers, the drivers going down the road. You can actually enjoy the beautification. And it's going to take some time for the trees to mature and everything to come up. But we're trying to mimic what Clayton County did on their side on 138. So basically we use their kind of very similar plants that they have as well.
And I think that's important because, since we border Clayton County in so many different areas, specifically in District 5, we have to work together in order to improve our business corridors. We can't have Clayton County looking immaculate and then we're looking terrible. So we're working together. You're just not going to see improvements in Fairview and Lake Spivey. You'll also see those same improvements in the neighboring counties as well, because we're working together as a team.
Great, and the beautification is so important to attract business and shoppers and consumers, definitely. So I know we touched on it for a minute, but let's talk a little bit about the Fairview Road widening project. Can you tell me, this has been a very important, and this is ongoing, is that right?
That's correct.
Tell me a little bit from your perspective why that was so important.
Well, it was important because, again, I talked about the sprawl, I talked about the traffic. Fairview Road was starting to look run down. So with all the beautiful homes in that area and the demographics in that area, those citizens in that area need to have an appealing business corridor. So that was the main focus. Also, I think by improving the Fairview Road, by making it a walkable community, health and wellness community, which is the goal with all of the medical and retail and restaurants coming into the area, it's going to increase property values, and it's going to make Fairview one of the most desirable areas in the not just in Henry County, but in the southern corridor.
Okay. And so along that, can you talk, Rocky, a little bit about the technical aspect of widening Fairview? When it started, what's been going into it?
Sure. As you know, this is a pretty good sized project. It's close to 2 miles. We started the design in the fall of 2008, and around early 2012, we started the right-of-way acquisition. We started construction July of last year. The project duration is 2 years, so next summer, it should be completed, hopefully weather permitting. I know we had very rough weather early this year. It started a little slow because of the weather and also utility relocations. Utilities are about 80% out of the way. We actually did some traffic shift about a week or so ago. So drivers are actually on certain locations, they're on new location of the widening. So you'll be able to see a lot more construction going on, a lot of more grading going on, weather permitting, but at the end of the day, it's probably going to be one of the best looking roads in Henry County because of not only the landscaping, the multi-use path, which is 8 feet wide. Also, we're going to have some lighting, so be more secure also at night. So it's going to be very different. Also, one of the things that we're going to have, all the signals are going to be mast arms. Those kind of like the ones that we have around the square McDonough. And also we're going to have our crosswalks, they're going to be red pavers, or they're going to look like red pavers. It's actually asphalt, but it's going to be a different color. So pedestrians and actually drivers can see the difference. Okay. It's kind of more of a safety also.
So we just have to keep our fingers crossed on this good weather that will allow it to take place. Well, Rocky, while you're on that, can you touch on some of the other widening projects that are coming up? I know there's a couple of roads.
Right, correct. One of them is the West Panola, like I mentioned before. We actually, currently right now, we are in the pre-selection stages for the designer engineer firm. And we are, like Commissioner Heffer just mentioned, we also been talking to Clayton County because Clayton County is actually working right now on their 4-lane widening on their portion of, they call it Panola Road in Clayton County. And so we're working with them. We're going to try to bring to the commissioners, hopefully in the very near future, an intergovernmental agreement in which Clayton County will share the cost for that project. And once we do that, we're going to move forward with the design and hopefully within about a year and a half be under construction. Which my understanding, Clayton County's got about another year as well for their portion.
So it really speaks to that you have to work together with other communities.
You definitely do. There's one project where I'm looking at reallocating, and the project was contingent on if the city of Stockbridge was going to move forward because they would have to put in some money for the project too. It is the Rock Quarry East Atlanta Road project in SPLOST. We planned about $4 million for that project, but it doesn't look like Clayton County is going to move forward, or they have the revenue to make this happen. So we're probably going to reallocate those funds back up to Fairview Road to create better access for citizens to get to various hospitals in the metro area. Speaking of hospitals, it doesn't look like Piedmont is going to work together to provide services in the with NIDIS. So initially part of the idea was to create a corridor for patients to get to Piedmont Henry Hospital for emergency services, but if you look at Piedmont's data, they already have 80% out migration, meaning that patients in the northern part of the county go to other hospitals anyway. So right now, to me, it just makes sense, since there's not going to be a relationship with Piedmont Henry, to provide better access on Fairview Roads to hospitals such as Southern Regional, Grady, Hillendale, and Emory Hospital downtown, since they're just as close to the Fairview area is Piedmont Henry. Okay,
so that's something you're working in with the plan from.
Correct.
Okay, great to know. Good information. Commissioner, can you talk a little bit about the sidewalks scheduled for Walt Stevens Road? I know that's quite a few years off, but it is something that you've had incubating for a little bit.
I don't think it's a few years off. That's something that I really want to push immediately, but. The Board of Commissioners, we got to get to the point where we're going to decide what we're going to do in terms of bonding. We're not going to be able to pay as you go, as people would like to say. we're going to need to have the money so we can invest in our districts. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is to bond. I'm hoping that I can move forward rather quickly, maybe work out some type of intergovernmental agreement with the city of Stockbridge, and then if we bond or when the revenue comes in from SPLOST, pay them back some kind of way. But we're looking at some creative ideas to get that done.
Okay. And Rocky, I know I just want you to finish out with a couple of the projects under SPLOST 4 that we haven't talked about. I know there's a few bridges and some other improvements.
Correct. We have 3 intersection improvements. Those are East Atlanta, Thurman, and Flat Rock, Panola at Scarborough, and Scarborough Church. Those are intersection improvements that we're going to be working as well during this program. And we do have some bridge repairs, which are Old Conyers at Big Cotton Indian Creek and Stagecoach over Big Cotton Indian Creek as well.
Okay, good. Well, it sounds like there's so much going on. Commissioner, let me give you the last word on this. Tell me a little bit about citizen feedback as far as all the projects going on and all the improvements.
Citizens' feedback has been absolutely amazing. The emails, the phone calls I get, everybody is excited and everybody can't wait to see what it looks like in the end. I drove down Fairview just this past week, and they're already starting to cut the 8-foot multi-use trails in front of the Nidus development. So I've been driving past every day to see if they're going, when they're going to start laying the cement. So I'm excited, and the community is excited as well.
All right, great, great, very gratifying, I'm sure. Well, unfortunately, we are out of time, but I want to thank you, Rocky, for being here, taking time. And when we come back, Commissioner Holmes and I will be joined by Ron Burkhalter from the Capital Project side of the SPLOST office, who will talk about a new park coming to Fairview. All that and more when we come back. For more information about SPLOST projects, go to henrycounty-ga.com/SPLOST. Welcome back. We're here with Commissioner Holmes, but now we're joined by SPLOST Capital Projects Director Ron Burkhalter. Welcome, Ron. So good to see you.
Good to be here.
Well, let's get started with this. Commissioner, the first segment we talked about a lot of road and transportation projects, and for this segment we're going to talk about a big project coming to District 5, which is the Bellamy Brothers Memorial Park. Can you tell us a little bit the backstory of why that's going to be a park and how you came up with that?
Well, if anybody knows where the Bellamy Brothers property is, it's pretty much in the center of the Fairview Business Corridor. And the Nidus development, there are going to be a number of water features on that development. 2 lakes, there'll be some fountains. So basically, nothing says redevelopment or destination like green space. So instead of having the trees, the cut down trees and the bridge machinery and the tractors, I decided that we should just go ahead and put a park in that particular area and beautify, which was going to help beautify the area, because we're creating a health and wellness community. So at the new park, we're going to have lacrosse and soccer fields. There's a deficit in this county for both, and depending on the season, you'll be able to convert from lacrosse to soccer to football. There'll be volleyball courts, beach volleyball courts. There'll be cookout pavilions for family reunions. There'll be walking trails at the park. And the thing I'm really most excited about is the water feature that's going to be at the park. It's going to be a splash pad. It's not going to look like the splash pad in Hampton. It's going to be more of a beauty feature. However, it's going to have a surface in which kids can run through it. I am looking for a splash pad similar to the one at Centennial Olympic Park. One that's going to just look beautiful as you're driving down Fairview Road. I think there are going to be lights in it, Ron. It's going to be around the same size. If we can put the steps there, if it can just mimic the Centennial Olympic Park splash pad, I think it will bring a lot of value to the business community.
Okay, great. And so, Ron, can you touch on, this is under SPLOST 4, and so where we stand with this project? It's just getting off the ground really now, is that correct?
That's correct. The property itself is approximately 20 acres. The park is going to be right at 18 acres. We've taken 2 acres and reserved it up along Fairview Road for the future development for a fire station, a police precinct, or whatever might go on that property, okay? And again, that goes along with what Rocky's doing with the widening of Fairview Road itself. In June 23rd of this year, we entered into a contract for the purchase of the property. Where we are right now, the contract allows 180 days for the tenants that are there now. There are currently 2 tenants on the property to vacate the premises. That puts December 23rd, okay, for the closing. It could be sooner, okay, if the land is vacated sooner. And in the meantime, we've also hired an environmental engineering firm to go in and do an environmental assessment, a phase 1 and phase 2 environmental assessment on the property, which will basically give us a clean site, okay, where we can start the development. In the meantime, we've also put out to bid an RFP, okay, a request for proposals on the park itself. We've received those back. There was a committee of 5 people that did an evaluation on the proposals that we received. We've selected one design build contractor, okay. In the near future, in the very near future, I'm going to be taking it to the Board of Commissioners, okay, for the approval to sign the contract and bring the contractor on board.
Okay, so the timeline for the park, since it is really in the infancy stage, we're talking, is it maybe a year out, a couple of years out?
For the completion of the park?
Right.
For the completion of the park, again, once we sign the contractor up, his schedule is between 9 months and a year, okay?
That's good to know.
And Melissa, with regards to the park, you know, the very nature of talking about the park to those businesses in the area has already gotten a couple of businesses, McDonald's, to totally do a remodel in anticipation for the park, because the park will be right behind McDonald's. Ingles has remodeled. And then the BP gas station right across the street from the park, they're in the process of remodeling as well. So it's had an economic impact on the area already.
And so there's a lot of great buzz about this park. And this goes back to quality of life issues for all of Henry County, because this is really for all of Henry County.
It's for all of Henry County. The trails on the park will connect into the trails on Fairview Road. In the future, when we can get Fairview Road all the way down to the library, we should have the trail that connects from the library into Panola Mountain State Park. So those trails will connect on the Fairview Road as well. So the vision for the Fairview community in North Henry County is very bright.
It is. And the connectivity, Ron and I talked about that the other day. Connectivity is so important for people to be able to get from one place to the other in an easy and probably fun way. So definitely. Commissioner, let me talk about, if you can talk for a minute about Cochran Park, because I know there's some improvements coming for Cochran Park. I'm sure Ron can talk to specifics, but this is also under SPLOST 4? Yeah,
in SPLOST 4, I want to make sure that we put money in SPLOST for improvements. Ron can talk more about specific improvements needed for the park, but there will be some upgrades at Cochran as well.
Great. Ron, can you touch on that a little bit about the Cochran Park upgrades?
At Cochran, there's a dire need in that park for a little bit more state-of-the-art sports lighting, okay? We budgeted monies in for upgrading the lighting system that's in the park. There's also a need for some additional netting to keep balls out of where balls shouldn't be going. And there's also a need for some of the buildings up there that there needs to be some renovation, whether it's anything from new roofs, the metal roofs as opposed to the asbestos tile roofs on some of them, and just some general, and some sidewalks, some steps, okay? It's just a lot of general things that we need to do in the park to get that park a little bit better up to where all the rest of the parks are in the county.
Okay, and I know you can speak to this because I think it's important for people to realize that once an idea comes for a park or a project, it certainly isn't the case of, oh, here it is and we'll finish it tomorrow. There really is a process, to be fair to everyone. Can you speak to the process? You did touch on it a little bit earlier with, you know, acquiring land and right-of-way and things like that.
And it's a very detailed process that we go through, but it's a necessary process that we go through. Going back to using the park as an example, okay, obviously the first order of business is the acquiring of the land, okay? That's a process just in itself. Once the land is acquired, there's geotechnical or there's environmental studies that we want to do on the property, okay, to make sure that the property is buildable. Once that is complete, there's an engineer that needs to be hired, or a design build where the engineer and the contractor are one and the same. And the engineer develops the drawings or engineers how the property, whether it's a fire station, whether it's a park. Once we have those drawings, we reviewed them, we're confident that it's going to work. At that point, we put it out to bid. You know, typical bid period is anywhere from 30 to 45 days. Once we receive the bids back, we look at the qualifications of the contractors that are bidding on it. We make a recommendation of who we would like to use. Typically, it's the lowest qualified bidder. And at that point, we take it to the board and for the board approval. And once we have the board approval, there's another process that takes about another month, okay, of getting bonds, getting insurance from the contractor before we can issue what's called a notice to proceed, which is actually starts the clock ticking, okay, for the contractor.
Okay, so yeah, it is definitely, but that's in the best interest of taxpayers, citizens, everybody involved, really.
Absolutely, and I'd just like to add on the capital side, when we build a fire station, we build a library, we go through the same process that McDonald's goes through when they want to build a new restaurant here in the county. We go through the same review process. We should go through the same review process, whether it's stormwater, whether it's zoning and development, whether it's the fire department, or we have to go through the same sign-offs where just as any other citizen out there is when they go to build. So through that process, okay, we educate ourselves on maybe some changes that need, you know, the fire department might see we have too close a turning radiuses for their fire trucks or something, okay? So, you know, we'll red line them up, we'll resubmit them, again, just like any other citizen in the county has to do.
Okay, well, it's good to know, good information. Commissioner, let me finish with you. Parks have been on your priority list, as well as other, we talked about quality of life issues in the last segment, and the great feedback from citizens, the buzz from businesses. So just give us a last word on that, and how your satisfaction or your hopefulness for the future.
I see the park as a destination project. If you go to parks like Mosley, you'll see thousands of people there on the weekend. What is going to make Fairview different when those people come up to Fairview for soccer tournaments, lacrosse tournaments, or football, when they leave the park, they'll have instant, restaurants and things like that in the area to go eat, wine and dine. And what does that mean? It's good for business, it's good for revenues, it's good for the Henry County Tax Digest.
Absolutely.
So it's going to be a revenue maker for the county, and also it's going to be a beauty feature that's going to make the north end of the county very attractive. And I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, good to hear. Well, unfortunately, we are out of time and need to wrap this edition of Henry Insider. But I want to thank Commissioner Holmes for being here. I know you're super busy, as well as you, Ron. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule. And I'd like to especially thank you, the viewer, for watching, and we'll see you next time.